Welcome everybody to another coaching session with Adam Caldini Calder. Today we're going to be moving on to a new topic after a little refresher. Take it away, Adam.
Let's get started. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's go for it. Yeah, we'll do a little refresher on last week's topic, just missing C-bets from EP on some of those Broadway boards. Hopefully, when I run this filter, Connor, if we run it since last week.
I already sent you like 9 that I missed.
Yeah, we'll ignore those if there's any that pop up we've seen. See what we'll go the 17th. Hopefully what we see, for the most part, is very few hands when we apply this filter, this miss C-bet filter. We want to see just a couple at most. From EP, obviously.
14. Oh, 5. Yeah.
Let's turn this off. 5's not too bad. And some of them might be checks, right? The filter doesn't rule out the fact that we might actually have some checks on some of these spots.
Yeah. Versus small blind.
Yeah, so we're not interested in the small blind. Just to give everyone a quick refresher on what we did last time. We ran a filter for checking the flop from early position. Well, the filter isn't for early position, but we're mainly looking at EP. 10 high boards or higher, because what we found with Connor's database was there was a lot of checking when compared to the later positions, just in general with C-betting in position heads up. So we just want to make sure we're smashing all the range C-bets. Basically, that was the goal. Make sure we're not missing range C-bets. I think the second topic we looked at, button versus 3-bet, just making sure we hit those defends was really good last time, wasn't it? So
yeah,
I don't think we need to dive into that one. Think about this one.
So it's a big bet board. At our stack depth, probably half pot is appropriate. Maybe 60. It's probably if it's not range, I think this is quite a good hand to check, right? You don't want to get blown off the ace of hearts, especially if you bet big.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and no, I don't think it's a range C-bet.
So how much would you C-bet at the minute? Would it be 50? Would it be 75? Would it be... Where are we at?
60, yeah, about 60, 70.
I'll bet range. So we're looking for something very specific to not C-bet these boards in this filter. So if you raise from EP, the big blind calls, the board is 10 high or higher, so 10 high, jack high, queen high, king high, ace high. We're looking for super specific boards that make it difficult to C-bet range. So if the board is super connected and there's a bunch of straights available and we're very deep, then it might get a little bit tricky to bet range. If the board's monotone, and again, if we're deep, so the big blind has access to the nuts, and it's a little bit tricky to stack off too light when we get deeper. That makes it tricky. If the board's paired, so if the board's queen high, but there's like 2 7s on the board, so let's say it's queen 7-7, then you might see some checks. Unless specifically the big blind has access to the nuts in a way that is competitive with our range, we just want to default to C-bet range. And because none of that's the case on this board, I'm just going to C-bet. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially like we said last time, especially when we shallow. Even mono boards where we don't have access to that many flushes because they're blocked by the board quite often. High frequency C-bet still. So yeah, any disconnected 10 high boards like this is going to be a range bet. And you mentioned some big sizings as well. If we were deeper, I would definitely bet big with, I would just bet range like B60. But we're quite shallow, so B25 is probably reasonable with some parts of the range. B50 is probably reasonable, like you said. But I wouldn't check. That's the main kind of footnote for me in this spot.
Is there any situation where you check, like ICM wise, or
the ICM adjusted strategies are interesting because let's say we open into someone on a final table and we're covered. You might want to play. You might think you want to play a little bit more passively. But his range is still going to be pretty wide as a defender when he's the covering player, and our range is going to be tighter, so it's going to be stronger.
yeah?
But generally speaking, I'm like, if you show me this spot on a final table, I would see bet this, personally. I would still see bet.
Okay.
Just in terms of chip EV though, like which spots do we want to check? So we'll look at this spot first, super quick. So 20 bigs. What's this cut off? Hijack.
What's this tool you're using?
So this is GTOwizard, which is it's just the nuts in it. It's just the goat.
The absolute nuts, and you can get 10% off with my link.
So there's our check with this king. But I just want to kind of illustrate why we're betting the entire range on this board. The fact that it's not betting too big, I think, is just a result of the stack size. We go to the ranges. We look at the range advantage. Pretty much across the entire range, the big blind's just fucked. Yeah. So this is just showing the equity across different parts of the range. So this is the low equity combos here, and this is us in green. So the bottom of our range smashes the bottom of his range. We don't have hands like Jack 5 of spades. He does. The middle of the range is dominating his range on the top. It's a little bit competitive at the very, very top with like some sets, but it's such a tiny fraction of the range, it's basically irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
When we
see a graph like this, where there's a gap the whole way up through the range, is that mostly where we've got range bet?
Yeah, that's where you're going to be investing the most money, is when you have an advantage throughout the range.
Yeah.
Or at least the frequency is going to be the highest, right? Because you can have advantages in different parts of the range and disadvantages elsewhere. That might dictate a change in frequency. Like you might bet less, but if you've got a really big nut advantage, but you don't do so well elsewhere, you might bet really big and check a lot because you're really pushing the advantage you have with the nuts there. Because that's how you'd want to invest in that situation. You want to take advantage of where you have the advantage, which is at the top. But in this spot, we have the advantage everywhere. So we always bet.
Okay.
But yeah, you can see this gap is not that common, by the way. It might look like a small gap in terms of the difference in equity, but this is pretty fucking significant.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not sure what this is, but yeah. What do you think about this one?
Well, it is the middle part of the range. But I think probably still C-bet, right? C-bet small.
Yeah, what are you thinking? After we've looked at that spot, what are you thinking in terms of frequency?
Yeah, it's a range bet.
Yep. So it's Jack high. It's rainbow, which helps us see bet. None of those factors we talked about, which might make it a little bit difficult to see bet range. None of them are there, so I'm just going to bet range. And I'm probably going to bet a little bit bigger because we're a little bit deeper. We have really good interaction with both cards at the top. It's under the gun versus big blind, so we're probably going to see another big range advantage like this. But again, the hands we're checking aren't ridiculous. Like when we think about how we want to structure a checking range, second pair is a pretty fucking good idea, in my opinion. Yeah, like if this is a button big blind spot, checking 9x is probably not stupid. But this is what's leading to these mistakes in your database, Connor, is I think we're thinking about the hand before we're thinking about the range.
Yeah.
But the process we want to follow to avoid these kind of mistakes is range first, then the hand class. Like, this is just my process. So step 1 is the range, step 2 is the hand class, which is the strong second pair, and then step 3 is the combo, so ace 9 of hearts. And the benefit of structuring it that way is that sometimes you don't even need step 2 or 3. I'm not concerned about building a checking range on a board where I'm betting range, right? And if you start with step 1, what does the range want to do on this board? It wants to bet. You don't need to worry about 2 or 3. You don't need to worry about what the hand is. You just know it's a bet. Now, you still need to figure out bet size, right? So that's when you might start to think about step 2 and 3. But the most important thing for me here, like, if the sim's betting 60 with everything and you bet small, I don't really mind that much. I think we just need to strip out these checks. But we've only got a couple of hands, which tells me you're doing much better, because we had a bunch, didn't we, last time?
Yeah.
But you can just see the investment we're taking here. It's not just like betting small with everything, like it's betting slight over bets with a chunk of the range, 83% with a chunk of the range, half pot with a chunk of the range. So rather than use 20 different fucking sizings, I would just AI solve it to one size personally, just to keep it simple. And the answer it spits out is B40. We usually see with these types of boards where it's, there's 2 high cards, it's usually B40, B60 with range.
Okay.
So yeah, missed one there. But again, the hands you're choosing aren't ridiculous. It's just that we're choosing to check them in the wrong situations. What do you think about this one?
I mean, I definitely would think about raising on a more blank card. Having said that, I would imagine he would be betting his queen 10 and stuff on the turn. Jack X is probably very low frequency in his range by not betting the turn. We block 9-8, so yeah, I'm leaning towards the raise. Now that I'm looking at it, I probably just called in game, because I mean, if I missed the C bet and I'm not missing other ones, then I just wasn't paying attention to this table.
Yeah. I'll probably bet the 10 as played.
Yeah,
These sims always get a little bit weird when you start like forcing the range to check, but yeah, as played. I think you're just going to win way too often when he bets 2 there. Jack X is probably going to bet bigger. Queen 10's probably going to bet bigger, at least sometimes. Like, I'm not saying he can't have some strong hands in his range, but when he bets 2, the bulk of his range isn't Queen 10 or 10-7 or pocket 4s, right? The bulk of it is 8x. It's ace 4, it's pocket 6s. Maybe some weak 9x. I think we're far enough ahead of his blocking range that I would just raise. I'd make it like 10 or something. Just think he's going to show
did
up
I
like
did
8,
I
5.
just call, or did I raise? Yeah.
Yeah, we just called.
Yeah,
Which is
I
probably
just wasn't,
okay, like in theory, but
just wasn't paying attention to this table. You believe me, right?
yeah, I believe it.
Got the max.
Clearly, you know something I don't with those spots. Actually, maybe it's a raise.
Yeah, I've actually got the
yeah.
max in all of them. Well, 2 of them, yeah.
You think about this one?
Yeah, this is pure C bet. 25%.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot because we are the low jack, so it's in a little bit of a later position, but it's a king high board. There are no straights available. There's no flushes available, so we're expecting at a minimum a very fucking high frequency c bet. I would wager it's going to be a range bet, but unlike some of the other hands we've seen, even if we are checking, this is not a hand I'm going to check. This is just the nut c bet.
Yeah.
Fantastic suits, not a whole lot of showdown value. And it's pretty close to the perimeter of the range that we talked about last time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess we have queen 10 off, but again, I'd rather bet queen jack with these suits. What have we done? Than queen 10 of hearts, but I think the range is going to bet so much that I would just see bets. You can make an argument that you want to use a lot of big sizes on this board, so you want to check a little bit, if you want to bet, because it's so connected and two-tone. Maybe ace king, strong king x, two pairs, some sets. Want to use some slightly bigger sizing, so you want to check some queens, jacks, tens, maybe some of this. But again, even within that context, I would still bet this combo. So yeah, it is doing what we talked about. It is betting big and checking, which I think is fine. I think you can also use like a B40 in bet range. I think either strategy's valuable. It is checking a little bit, to be fair. I wouldn't have checked this. It's good to see.
Interesting.
So this one doesn't look too bad.
I thought this was just range 25. Maybe it's just a little bit wetter than we thought.
Yeah, I think the 8 and the 7 do interact pretty well with the big blinds range, and it's a low jack open, so it's not quite under the gun. Technically, it's under the gun for our hand, but we've got three seats missing. So, and obviously, when you want to bet big a lot, it gets a little bit more tricky to invest with the entire range.
Yeah.
But you could also simplify it a bet range. Like it's not going to be that difficult for us to get a range bet on the flop. But I think when the strategy looks that clean, quite barbelled, like there's a lot of big bet, a lot of check, very little of this small betting going on. This is the type of board where I probably wouldn't simplify, and I would just use a mixed strategy. Maybe like something like B60 or check, something like that. Just kind of split these two sizings on the middle. We can test your theory though if you want with this B25. So let's look at the EV in position 3.99. So let me redo that with the sim it spat out. So that's our default when we just let it run. 3.99 again. If we just go 1/3. See if it lets us bet range. Not quite. Yeah, I think I would just polarize on the flop. But you see, even just B25 with most of the range is EV is almost the same. It's almost the same. But we need to be, I think we need to be careful with these kind of spots, because as soon as you change this 7 to a jack, I think it's going to start betting a little bit more. So now it's almost range. As soon as you change the 7 to like a 4, I think it's going to be betting a lot again. But we'll double check. Now it's pretty much range. So because that 8 and 7 just looks like a very unique board where big blind has great interaction, we don't quite have a big enough range advantage where we want to bet big and bet everything. So you just want to next be a little bit more polarized. You see how it's just a lot closer, especially in the middle. So yeah, check's pretty good. Mostly a bet, but a little bit of check's fine. That's small blind. So we'll skip that one. So yeah, just a couple. Yeah, nice one. Good stuff.
There's just one that was arranged by, or no, the Ace King, the first one.
Yeah. Ace King, Ace 9, just those two. I'll just have a quick scan of these MP hands. Just to make sure. Yeah, we might have a couple of problems in this one. Let's take a look. We'll blast through these and we'll get onto a new topic again.
Sounds.
What about this one?
I mean, yeah, if you have a checking range, second pair, seems good.
Yeah, double Broadway, rainbow. This deuce is pretty good for c-betting too. It doesn't really interact with the big blind. I would just bet range. Let's take a look. Yeah, I'll just bet range. Pull out these little slithers of big sizings. B25, B30.
Simplify.
Big blind super shallow. This is kind of weird. I think I would probably still bet though. You can depend a wide range. Yeah, I think one's fine. This hand doesn't feel very middling, does it? It feels pretty far down.
Yeah.
We have an overcard and a good shot, which is worth something for sure, but we also have spades. His range is wide. We smash this board. Small blind, I think. This one's an interesting one. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, it is very middling. Because in this situation, we don't mind just, a lot of our 10x don't mind just getting it in. Because our 10x will include gut shots most of the time. All the time. Except ace 10. So then this hand becomes quite awkward because it's not shit enough that we don't mind getting shoved on or whatever. It's not good enough either.
Yeah. I mean, the hand selection for checking is pretty reasonable, right? I'm just concerned that the board has so much interaction for our opening range that we just don't check. But let's take a look. There's a little bit of check. Ace 8's pretty efficient as a check. I think it's not too surprising. There's some 10x in there. Because every combo's mixing, I would just bet range though, personally. I don't want to check 15% of the time.
But look, the 8, it's literally check the 8x. Surely you have to check some of it sometimes.
So if we fuck around with the sizings, you're not going to lose any EV. Like, no one's going to be able to exploit you betting range on this board. It's just that you need to manage that 1/3 of the range, which is betting big. If you just drop that sizing down a little bit. So this isn't even the pre-solve, this is just the AI, and I haven't even auto-locked it. So, I mean, you could implement this strategy and just check ace-8 a bunch, and just check 8-7 a bunch. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Check a bit of king 10. I would just pull this out. Because I don't really want to implement 13% of the range, betting half pot, and then 8% check. Because I think I can implement this strategy for the same EV much more efficiently. Just much more practical. It's sticking around though, like it loves you. It's just really trying to like make me look an idiot. But so yeah, bet everything, check ace-8 suited. That's the one. Although without the backdoor flush draw on it, it is pure betting. So
Okay. You win.
we got there. See, if you change the sim enough, you will be right eventually.
Yeah.
That's the rule. Yeah, double Broadway. There's a deuce on the board. I think. Oh, we're quite shallow though. It's a bit awkward. Yeah, same story, just bet range. Yeah,
He has
don't mind that, to be honest.
one SBR. Oh, wait till you see this hand. Oh no, he had a flush. He had a flush. No, he didn't. Sorry. Yeah.
Let's get rid of that one. We don't want to see that one anymore. Right, let's move on to something newer. Let's get rid of this.
All right, something new, lads.
I do want to double check what your big blind ISO is first though. Because if it's still what it was when we first did your database analysis, we should probably dive into that super quick. Because it was super low if I remember right. Yeah, it's not too bad. 30%. Needs to come up for sure. It needs to be around 40, 45.
What
So we
was
can
it
take
before?
a quick look in there. I think it was like 26, 25, 26. Super low.
Okay.
Yeah, so your 2-bet pre-flop and fold looks much better now. When's this since? Yeah, so this is the 1st of June. So yeah, your RFI needs to come up still. I would aim for 50% on the button, like 35 on the cutoff. I think's going to be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Fold to steel's a little bit high from both positions. So yeah, we just need to be a little bit looser pre-flop, a little bit more 3-betting. But I don't want to dive into these in terms of league finding, because I think it's pretty straightforward for you to just run drills and kind of work on those on your own. It's pretty simple. I don't know if it's the best use of our time. Like, we can look at that stuff, not a problem. But I usually avoid it. So this is what we were looking at basically today in last session. So these c-bet flop in position heads up stats. We want to be c-betting more with the strongest range, right? So we want to be c-betting more from EP. We want to be c-betting less from late position. So hopefully the little bit of work we've been doing there is going to get these numbers up towards, 85, 90%. Just making sure there's nothing too crazy. All the term probe's pretty high, but we've already made a note of that one. C-bet river's super aggressive. So let's look at this big blind ISO, see what's going on. So we'll say opportunity to raise limbers. 2 players to the flop and we're in position. That should do it. And we want to check. As we could remove the 2 bets. Should help. Right. So how do you feel about ISO from the big blind at the minute?
Well, I know the charts like mix everything, so I did yeah, I was randomizing at one point, like bigger card on the left. I would ISO, but yeah, I think I might have just gotten a bit too lazy now. Or yeah, I don't quite know. Is this 254 hands that I've missed that I definitely should have?
No, this is just hands we've checked.
Okay.
Like all
So
hands.
yeah, it depending on the stack depth. Like I know how it works.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Do you think it's a frequency thing?
Yeah, I think it's a frequency thing. Let's have a look.
I'm going to add certain hands in the filter, actually.
I feel like I'm getting shoved on so much when I do ISO. That could be a subconscious kind of thought in my mind. That's wrong. By the way,
What I'm going to do best, actually. Yeah, go ahead, man.
I had a hand on the FT of the live tournament, where under the gun opened, cut off called, and small blind called. And I'm in the big blind. I'm probably like 4 of 9 or 5 of 9. It's close. The middle stacks are quite close. The cutoff caller is the guy that has the 3 of us covered. And I knew I should fold like 7-8 offsuit here. But would you ever call it if it was like all recreational players and they're like passive?
Say that again for me, please, Connor.
So on the final table of the live tournament over the weekend, I had a spot where under the gun open 9-handed is like one of the first hands of the FT. I'm 4th or 5th in chips. The under the gun guy has around the same as me. The cutoff calls with 2nd in chips. He's about 10 big blinds more than me. And then the small blind calls, who's quite short. He's got like 12, 13 blinds. I have about 30.
So we're 4th in.
We're 4th in from the big blind, and I've 7-8 offsuit.
Yeah, I would pure fold.
Yeah, even
that defending range is going to be so fucking tight. You might. I'll tell you what. I'll show you a range super quick to give you an idea of how tight this is going to get. Like, don't be surprised if we look at a range where we're 4th in on an FT, and there's a bunch of big stacks in the pot that we're folding like ace jack off.
I actually would have folded ace jack off.
Let's take a look. Super quick. So FT. So you would have folded just because we're dominated quite a lot, and you feel like A7 just a little bit more playable. Yeah, I got you. I think the offsuit combos are just going to be worthless. Like, we can look at, was it something like this?
Then
maybe we can look at low jack, off, small blind, flats.
Well, the under the gun guy had me covered, so maybe that's important.
We'll just look at the low
jack.
If it comes out on this one.
Yeah, alright, yeah.
There's no shot it's going to be in. Like, this one might be a good option too. I like a button. We'll try this one. This one sounds pretty similar. So low jack open. So this is the big stack, yeah.
Yeah.
Cut off flat, you said.
Yeah.
And then small blind's pretty short.
Oh yeah, I tried this. Yeah, they're not going to allow it. But even this is a fold, pure. I know.
Yeah. So without the small blind, we're just out. We'll see how much it's worth.
But yeah, I knew. I mean, I obviously looked it up and I knew already, but I just thought get in there with these guys. But we don't want to. We want them to like knock each other out, don't we?
Yeah, it's tough. The future game implications are tricky. The hand's worth around 0, by the way, so it's not like a big punt. At least 300. But if they're super splashy, and you feel like you can win a big pot because they're just not going to be able to fold a medium strength hand, then it feels like we have some pretty good implied odds for improving to like a 2-pair or trips or a straight or whatever, right?
Did I flop
But then
trips
just flop trips, yeah.
and I
But
lost?
if you fold and they're super splashy, they're going to collide way more than they should. So how does that balance out? Does it favor defending a little bit wider, a little bit tighter? It's hard to say. So I would probably just default to something that looks like
But
this.
they could still like splash about against each other if whether I called or not. Like I could just check fold top pair and only like continue if I have a really good hand.
You could, but you might. If you think about where the EV comes from for the defend, if we're only playing post flop when we flop the nuts, is it really going to be worth that investment?
That's my
If we just
question.
check fold now,
Uh,
I would guess not, but it's hard to say for sure. Yeah, we don't have any overcalls with this sim, which is a bit annoying, isn't it? Do we have any in this one? Nope. Yeah, I can't even get the button to overcall super deep, so
yeah, you're just never supposed to overcall on FTs.
yeah.
But yeah, let's continue anyway.
Yeah, no worries.
I think that was like the only hand that bothered me.
Was there some post flop action where we lost a few chips? Is that why?
Yeah. Well, the guy played it awful. The small blind had overcalled 8-9. And
Suited?
yeah, to be fair, it was suited.
It doesn't help that much, but you know.
So
It's
so
better
he's
than
calling
not
out of
so.
position to everyone.
Yeah.
And he's like, his bottom 3 stacks should be fighting for pay jumps by. Yeah, anyway. So checked around on 7-7-6. Then he leads the turn, which is the 3 of diamonds, brings a flush draw. I call, obviously, and the other lads fold. And then the river's like an offsuit 10, and he just has 8-9 hearts. He shoved for like 60% pot or something.
Yeah. I guess you gotta call post flop, but yeah, I would have just folded pre.
Yeah.
Right. So the first filter I'm gonna look at is basically checking value ISOs. So I think we might be mixing some of the offsuit combos in a way that we're just not ISOing enough. But because it's around 30% and we want to be 40-45, because there's that many ISOs missing in the database at the minute, we're probably missing value raises as well. And it's mostly on the deeper side from what I've seen, where they're being missed. Just wide suited combos. You know, when we get to that stack size where people can't jam.
Yeah,
Excuse
yeah.
me. Like 40, 50, 60.
Where it starts to become more linear instead of polar.
Yeah.
I can understand. Oh, 5 hands.
Yeah. It's quite a specific filter, so there's never going to be too many. Like if we just go to this year. It might be a little bit easier. Yeah, what do you think about this one?
I mean,
Just in terms of your range and if we want ISO.
yeah, it's something we want to ISO, but I wouldn't say it's a pure ISO, is it?
So what would be the pure block that you would ISO? You just pull it back, we'll have super quick. What are you just not mixing?
Ace 10 off plus.
Yep.
Probably King Jack off, Queen Jack off, Jack 10 suited.
It's all of these, yeah.
Yeah. Then, yeah, 9-10. The suited 9x as well.
It's all of these, yeah, nice.
Then, like, I want to check some ace-x for board coverage. It's probably going to come from the offsuit region. So I'd probably mix like the rest of that offsuit region and ISO pairs all the way down. Oh, any pair, is it?
I'll make. So this is just pure, by the way. So this is a hand where, you know, if the small blind limps, we're 50 bigs effective, 60 bigs effective, you know, we're on the deeper side. Which hands are you just not mixing? You're like, I'm isolating this every single time. Never mixing.
Sevens plus.
Sevens. So this where it gets a little bit dicey. I like sixes through deuces. Yeah, good.
Yeah. That's it. Maybe ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited.
Should we say something like that then?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we're when we're a little bit shallower, this is going to be pretty reasonable. We are missing some combos, but the combos we're missing, the more important when we're deeper. Not more important, I should say the more consistently pure ISOs when we're deeper. So I'd go a little bit wider with the opposite aces. So I think like ace 8 off. So I think we're missing a little bit of these. I think these broadways are usually doing a bit of mixing. So for me, pure ISOs are going to be. I've just seen the chart, to be fair, so I'm kind of cheating. But what we're missing when we're deep is the super connectors, basically.
Oh, so yeah.
All of these are just going to be. They're not going to mix. 5-4 might mix. 6-4 is going to be in. 7-5, 8, 6, 9, 7, 10, 8 is going to be in. These suited 8s are going to be into a high frequency. If we're really deep, like you're going to see King 5 suited. You're going to see some of this. A little bit of 4s. So this is going to be a little bit closer to the value range we're going to see for the big blind when we're on the deeper side. Now, the benefit of isolating these hands, which feel kind of vulnerable when you look at a 20 big blind range, for example, we're not going to isolate Jack 8 suited because he's going to limp jam a bunch and we're going to basically have to raise fold the equity. So the suited combos, when we're shallow, we just pull a sim up super quick.
They get replaced with all those like Jack deuce off and shit.
They're just doing a lot of checking. So all of these are just doing a lot of checking. We really don't want to ISO fold these. It's not that when we raise he jams 80% of the range, but 10%. We're just going to take the check EV because the check EV is so high. That's all we're trying to do in these spots is manage the EV between check and ISO, right? But when we're 60 big blinds deep, if we raise Jack 8 suited, any 3 bets, we can just call. Yeah. So we're always realizing our equity, at least to the flop.
Cool.
Yeah, so the floor of the range, I think you've probably got this nailed down. A lot of them aren't mixing, a lot of them are high frequency ISOs. So just to simplify, this C shape, I would just isolate these. Against some players, pure. But if you're playing against a good reg, I think like 75% for most of those is going to be decent if you do want to mix. And I think these get missed quite often as well. These Broadway combos. You know where we double block the calling range with like King 9, King 8, Queen 9, Queen 8. I think these get checked quite a lot, but these ISO fold quite often, which seems kind of counterintuitive because they feel quite middling, right? Why not just check if it's kind of in the middle? But it's offsuit. They don't realise the equity as well. You can ISO for value, and you're not forced to play for stacks if he jumps, right? It's just an easy fold. So I would imagine we're missing some of these. I would imagine we might be underdoing it at the bottom slightly. And then when we're deeper, we're probably missing some of the value. So that's 30. There's a little bit of these weaker suit combos coming in too. If we go up to like 60 bigs, you see how wide this value range is.
Wow. Any suited ace, yeah. I was thinking along the right tracks that we want to check some of the offsuits ace-x for board coverage, but yeah, I didn't think it was pure king 5, it's king 6 suited. 9, 7 suited, I'd probably never do that. 8, 6 suited. 5, 3 suited. Yeah,
5-3, not
this
mixing.
this is a huge, I don't know if I've ever, I definitely haven't looked at this enough. I need to drill them on GTOwizard.
It's a good idea. It won't. I don't think it's going to take you long. I think from what I've seen up now, you learn pretty quickly. So I don't think it'll take you long. And it's just a result of the stack depth. So if we go to 40 bigs, for example, we're still isolating these low suit connectors quite a lot. But the linear top of the range is a little bit closer to what you thought it would look like. I guess 30 would be the closest, right? So yeah, pure ISO. Suited eights, pretty much any suited ace, king 5 suited. We won't spend too much time on this because it's, once you've seen it once or twice, pretty self-explanatory, right? So yeah, what do you think about this one?
Yeah. Pure.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't. No, it is.
What about this one?
It's pure.
Yeah, this one's not close. Oh, it is close. When we get to 100, it's getting a touch tighter. That's interesting.
Oh, there's different sizes over 100.
Yeah. I think that might be playing a role. Oops. What have we done? Yeah, we're using that 6.5 a little bit, aren't we?
Fuck
So
that.
if you,
Did you ever use that?
I don't use it personally. I would just use the 3.5 and play. It's a little bit more of a linear open, like wider for value, personally. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd raise that one.
Pure. Pure.
Yep.
Pure. Pure. Pure.
Right, we do one more, and I'll stop torturing you.
Pure. I want to see if I get one wrong. Just from what I've seen, like, in that chart. But yeah, no, I'll do it
If you
myself.
get one right, you mean?
What?
Do you mean if you get one right?
No.
If you ISO?
With my answers.
All right, I've got you. No, you've been spot on with all of them. I think they're all pure.
Yeah.
But that's what we've ran the filter for.
No, I know.
But yeah.
Oh, I see, yeah. They're all going to be pure.
Yeah. So it's hands we shouldn't check. Most of them are hands we shouldn't check. At a stack depth, we shouldn't check them. So there'll be a couple in there which are good, but for the most part, they're all going to be ISOs.
Oh, should I cut that? Me being stupid.
That's
Out
what
of-
we're here for, mate.
Out of the
Keep it in
YouTube
there.
video.
Highlight it. Do an action replay and all that good stuff. Well, yeah, I think you get the idea.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty spread selection of hands, right? There's no, I would say maybe the suited combos for value are popping up quite a lot. The suited connectors, the king eights, the jack nines, the 7-6s. But it's quite spread, so I think yeah, just a couple of reps should help a bunch. And then when you're shallower, so when you're like 40 big blinds and shallower, I think finding some of those.
The C shape.
Yeah, definitely hit those with a higher frequency. But where's GTOwizard? There it is. One thing you've got to think about as well with the offsuit combos is there's just more combos. So when you miss those, that's probably going to have a big impact on your frequency. Try and find A7 plus. A7 plus is going to be pretty consistent. And then just try and find these as well. So king 8, king 9. These kind of value protection ISO raises where, because the small blinds, limp calling offsuit 7s, offsuit 8s, offsuit 9s, we double block those, we get some value, protect our hand a little bit. We're probably missing some of those when we're shallow. So yeah, pump up the frequency with these at the bottom. Make sure we're finding the A7s, and then these broadways with the Midland card as well. Yep.
Cool.
Good stuff. Right. What time are we on? Excuse me.
It's 2:30.
2:30.
54 minutes into the stream. We promised them an hour a day, so we can just.
Yeah, we can keep going.
Oh, you want to keep going?
Yeah, we can go for a little bit.
All right, go ahead.
Get started on something fresh for next week.
Yeah, sound.
Is there anything specific you want to look at, or do you want me to keep focusing on these leaks?
I wanted to ask you about leading out of position in 3-bet pots.
In terms of your database, or just generally?
I mean, we could use my database to explain how it works, but it's something that I thought I made a mistake. I tried doing it and then I looked it up and it was like the wrong situation.
Tell you what we should do.
I won't have tried it too much, so we could like look at hands where I'm out of position in a 3-way pot, and then just see. Oh, can we lead that? Can we lead that? Because if you filter for me actually doing it, it won't be there much.
Yeah, not too many. I mean, you're doing pretty well. It's only 14 hands, but we could review these ones though, see if it's.
Yeah, I might have done some incorrectly. Some people probably watching who have never led in a 3-way pot. Oh, this is the problem. You got to filter out me being in the big blind, yeah.
Yeah. I thought I put a call 3-bet filter in, did I? What did I do? No, we put the call 3-bet filter in. What's going on? Ah, we've called a squeeze. That's why. Yeah, to be honest, if you don't do much leading in 3-bet pots, it's probably a good idea. Yeah, it's not going to be that common. There are some spots where it comes in. You can take a look if any of these come in. What do you think about this one?
I like it. Open call 3-bet kind of hits our range, right? And we're like so short that, or not so short, but SPR is, pretty small. We don't mind, definitely with this equity just getting in. Even versus aces.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people will make more mistakes versus this because it's not common.
So what are you looking for at the minute in terms of spot to lead? Are you looking? You mentioned interaction there, so it hits our range pretty well. Is that the main thing you're looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And misses a lot of his 3-betting, his 3-bet bluffs, maybe. It should be like
Yeah, that's a good point.
high card, low card.
So in my experience, we lead in spots where there isn't great interaction with the 3-better's range in terms of he doesn't have a lot of top pairs. Like usually if the imposition range interacts with the board, especially with his bluffs, it's just very difficult to lead. Ace high boards, king high boards, generally Broadway boards, it's tricky. Boards where we have a nut advantage, especially when we're deep, it's probably going to help. So if you think about a board like 6-5-4, where we've called a 3-bet and we're 100 big blinds deep, imposition doesn't have any sets or straights really. Let's say it's, low jack first cut off. That might be a board where we want to think about leading. So in my experience, you're looking for not much interaction for the imposition player, decent interaction for us, and ideally, kind of nut advantage is going to help as well.
So what do you think of this one?
This one's interesting because we're shallow. I would start with a check, personally. I think starting with a check's the easiest way to get the money in, which is basically what we want with this hand, right? I think when you lead small, you're just going to see call as a response very often. I'm a little bit concerned as well with leading this board in general, just because we carry so many underpairs, which just don't do very well. Like when you think about which hands he bluffs with, it's going to be ace-10 off, right? It's going to be king-jack off. It's going to be king-queen off. It's going to be those Broadway combos, which they all smash this board. His entire range smashes this board, unless he has like ace-4 suited. Now, we smash this board as well, but we probably have hands like 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, which we can 4-bet sometimes pre-flop, but those hands aren't going to help us too much. So I can see why you led. I just think it's going to be difficult for it to be to a super high frequency. And it might be the case that we want to just jam, to be honest. Like if you do want to have leads on this board, let's say the solver was leading, I might just want to jam. Queen Jack, Jack 9, get some King Queen with a spade. Which might sound a little bit ridiculous, but we're super, super shallow. So I'd start with a check personally, but I don't think it's ridiculous. I just think it smashes his bluff range a little bit too much. There's his 3-bets, by the way. Sucks balls.
Yeah, so the high-low is only ace-4 and ace-5, as you said.
Those are jams though in this sim.
Oh.
So he shouldn't really 3-bet much there.
Oh, he's got not all in.
Yeah, just jam or flat. He's flat in the nuts. Queens, jacks, 10s, ace, king, ace, queen. Just want to jam.
Huh. I don't know, man. I think there should be not all in 3-bets here.
I mean, you'll see them. You'll see them in practice a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, a big part of the strategy in chips.
I do them.
Maybe we can look at low jack, high jack. See if any sneak in.
So there's no 4.5 on GTOwizard yet, is there?
I don't think so. We'll try 900. Yeah, just not a part of the strategy. So it is going to be very fucking difficult for us to get a sim. We could do that range, right? We use that range, but it's so fucking thin. Maybe we could go to like 30 bigs.
$25.
Let's check 25. Yeah, similar story at 25. But that is a big 3-bet. There we go. That's not too bad. Yeah, so when you look at this call-in range, it does have really good interaction, to be fair, across this block. So yeah, I don't think leading's crazy in this spot. Kind of fits the criteria, doesn't it? Like I said, I'm a little bit concerned about a lot of these suited combos and underpairs are going to make it difficult, but you can take a look. I'd also say, if you think it's a range bet for the imposition player in a 3-bet pot, that's usually going to be a clue for us not to lead. Because the top of the range for us is always going to face a bet, so there's not much benefit in leading. You're just going to fold out some hands. Whereas when you check, if they're always betting, you're going to be able to build the pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, does like the jam.
Dunk jam.
Yeah.
No.
I think it makes sense. What I would say about these spots, though, if you're not sure,
Check.
it's very difficult for a check to be bad with any hand, really, in a 3-bet pot. But it's easy for bet to be really shit if there's no bet, right? So if you're not too sure with these 3-bet pots when it comes to leading, I would go for a check. But yeah, I think the bet size makes sense. We're quite shallow. We need a lot of protection. There's a million tens that can be a problem for our value hands like Queen Jack, right? Ace Jack. But it looks to me it's mainly a value protection game. There's a little bit of Jack 9 in there. Some pairs with open enders. We've got some Queen Jack, top pair with a gut shot. And then we got some King Queen with a spade. I think we mentioned that, didn't we? Some flush draws. So yeah, decent spot to lead, just not the right size. Obviously we stack off. Easy game.
Too easy. Oh yeah, this is the one that definitely isn't the lead. Because I remember checking this after.
Yeah, what do you think, before we check, what do you think the imposition strategy is? And if you already know, fair enough. What do you think his strategy is going to be when we check?
Yeah, I think he's gonna have like an 80% 3-bet. I don't think it's gonna be pure hands that aren't a queen that don't need protection like aces and kings. Can check back and some ace king with a spade.
40, 50. Effective. Yeah, I'll check range. So when you think about the c-betting strategy, which like we mentioned briefly just now, it is obviously going to impact our ability to lead if it's a range c-bet. Because there's just no benefit in betting ourselves if we know he's always going to bet. And boards which are going to be pretty good for the imposition player, Broadway boards, disconnected boards, paired boards. So if we think about just c-betting imposition as a broad concept, those kind of heuristics we just mentioned there, those are going to usually drive the bet frequency up. So in terms of range c-bets, this is a pretty fucking good board, I think, for imposition. Paired, it's disconnected, Broadway. I don't think the asymmetry, which is apparent pre-flop, because when he 3-bets and we call, he's saying he has a bunch of strong hands. We're saying we have a bunch of medium strength hands, right? That's just the nature of the spot. He has an uncapped strong range. We're kind of middling. So for us to start betting, especially out of position, because being out of position is going to make betting difficult, even if the ranges are symmetric. But they aren't symmetric; they're asymmetric. They belong to, the advantage belongs to the in-position player. So what we're really looking for on the flop is to try and bridge that gap. Is to try and reduce some of that asymmetry so the ranges are a little bit more competitive with each other. But for me, this board just isn't that type of board.
Right, and I, like I said, I looked it up and I realized that it was a pure check after. But in game, my thought process was that his 3-bet range doesn't really have much Queen X or Jack X, and ours has loads. But that's not really true, is it? Because we're going to be we're only going to be calling the suited portion. Like, I thought he'd be doing a lot of flatting with the type of hands we have, but he's got offsuit stuff that we don't have.
I think when we look into the range comparison, what we're going to see. So I get what you're saying. Like, we have Queen Jack suited at a pure weight. We have Queen 10. We have Ace Queen King Queen. All of those combos at a pure weight. That's true, and he's not going to have all of those combos at a pure weight. So we have some advantage in that sense. But the problem is we have all of this shit as well. We have King 6, King 7. We have King 9. We have all of these pocket pairs, which don't do particularly well on this board. I think are really going to hurt our ability to lead a bunch. Obviously, we know there's no leads now, but just because we have, we could count more types of combos that we have that interact with the queen on this board. We've also got to take into account that we have all of this shit which he doesn't have.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take much. Like, if we look at the range, it's quite symmetric at the top. It's quite symmetric, but it's just such a tiny portion of the range. The rest of the range, we're just completely fucked. So I think even though it makes sense, like what you said honestly makes sense. Like the fact that we have a little bit of a nut advantage. We have pocket fours, which he doesn't have. We have more Queen X. I just think the rest of the range is kind of fucking us a little bit there. And when this is his response to our check, there's just no benefit in taking the top of the range for us and betting it ourselves. Because when we bet, he's going to have a folding range, right? Even if we bet 25%, he's going to have a folding range. It's only 12%, but it's a folding range. That 12% of hands which have just folded, they're going to put money in because he's betting range. Yeah, so there's just no benefit in investing with the parts of our range which we want to invest with, which is the top. There's just no benefit.
Yeah. We'll go to another hand.
If we do one or two more, then we'll finish up. What do you think about this one?
Yeah. I open pocket threes at 100.
Yep.
So we've got all the sets and he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think we also have the straight in our range. No, 5-7. No, sorry. I thought it was a 6-7.
No.
If it was like 3-4-5, maybe it's better, or 4-5-6.
Yeah, before we see the sim, I think this one might be a good shout. I'd probably rather have a board like 6-5-4, where just a little bit more of the range has open ended.
6-5-4.
Yeah.
I just said 4-5-6.
Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
That's a different board, man. That's a different board. I don't know what you're talking about. Right. I think this is good. So when you think about what I'm looking for before I lead in a 3-bit pot, it's going to be a nut advantage. Always helps. So we have all the sets. He doesn't. He doesn't have great interaction with the air in his range. Obviously, his overpairs are going to do very well on this board for sure. But when we're this deep, do you really want to get it in with jacks and queens? Like, probably, but it's a little bit of a problem, isn't it? We've got some queens in the flattened range for us. This might be a problem, though, to be honest. We are mixing fold to some of these.
I'm not.
With some of these pairs. We could adjust that, to be fair. We'll fire a call in. I'm expecting to see a little bit of lead, but we can see. Let's see. Let's AI solve this one. There you go.
Boom. Motherfuckers.
Ignore us for diamonds.
Of diamonds, yeah. You want the non... You don't want the backdoor flush draw, basically.
Yeah, nearly half the range. Nearly half the range leading there. And if we go to the range breakdown again, you see how much more competitive we are in this spot.
Yeah.
The nut advantage is kind of similar, like it was with the Queen X board. Like, we did really well, didn't we? I think it was like 9% versus 2%, which is not a million miles away from this. But the rest of the range we're doing competitively as well. We have all the overpairs because we're super deep. You know, we're not 4-betting 10s at the pure weight, so we do really well in the middle. He still has a lot of air. So if we look at, you know, this kind of low equity block, so much of his range is just overcards. Suited 9s, suited broadways, suited aces. So yeah, I think everything on this board is just lining up nicely for us to be able to lead. So yeah, I know it's not leading ace-4 suited much, but I think, you know, it's pretty good. Pretty good. He's supposed to raise a shit ton. Seems a little bit unlikely to me, to be honest. I mean, I'm definitely misplaying the spot against the lead. Just saying, like, I'm not raising half the deck. It's a lot of fucking raising. Like, Queen 9 suited is not mixing. It's just like, yeah, I have Queen 9 suited. I have 2 overcards, mate. Let's get amongst it.
Right, so if we take out some of these raises, just take out all the raises that you wouldn't do. No lock that and see how much more we can lead.
Let's do it. We'll go through this hand super quick, then we'll node lock the flop. I think it might just lead range, you know. Like, I genuinely think the answer in this spot against a lot of players, unless someone's a nit in the 3-betting 3% of the deck, and we just fold pretty against those guys anyway, right?
Yeah.
But I think the response against most players is just to lead range. That's what I'm expecting us all to stick out, is the output. But yeah, call looks good. 10 is probably going to be a call. I think I would just pure call, personally. I'd rather call this than, you know, if he's bluffing 9x, 10x, Jack X, unless we're value cutting ourselves and we beat some value bets. Do we really want to call with 9s over this? Maybe. Kind of hard to say. I think I would call though. E50. Going to defend most of the range. Yeah, so 8s is coming out. Ace-4 is in. That's worth a lot, by the way. But that's against an in-position player, which is going super aggro. Yeah, let's node lock it, actually. So, B25 on the flop. I'm not going to fuck around with the combos too much. I'm just going to drop the frequency to like... So it's 42.
Bring it down to like 32.
Yep. Which is still super fucking aggressive. Like, that's a third of the range it's raising. There you go.
Yes. So it's a pure lead spot.
I think you should lead range with this situation against everyone that isn't an absolute fucking animal, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. My response isn't to raise 45% in that spot. It's probably closer to this. It's not crazy to realize you can raise a lot,
That's still
but the frequency is surprising.
aggressive. Raising
Mm-hmm.
King Jack suited a lot. I guess that's kind of very low down your range. Got some backdoors you can raise with. And you don't mind getting raised off it. But Ace Queen, I would have thought. Oh, it's kind of indifferent between all three answers.
Yeah, likes the clubs because you make the bluffs available. Because out position's not going to lead clubs, but to be honest, in this sim, you're leading fucking everything, aren't you?
Yeah.
So there you go. There's your answer.
Okay.
I mean, fuck me. God forbid we start bringing some folds in with some of these combos.
Yeah,
it's
it
leading range
didn't.
against a range which is not folding much, and it's raising a third of the time. Other than Ace-9 suited, there really aren't any backdoors fold. King Jack's continuing most of the time. To be fair, these might get over defended, so maybe it evens out, but yeah. It's the answer. Just be careful with this, Connor, because you need to be careful on the turn, right?
Yeah.
Right, let's say he calls. Like, we lead, he calls. We've arrived to the turn with the entire deck. He's got a tight range, because we're assuming that he's playing a little bit too passive, right? So we just check a shit ton. So yeah, just keep that in mind in terms of if you're making an adjustment, make sure it sticks in your mind for the further streets, yeah.
I'm not going to check this much. I think at this stack depth we can get people off like jacks by the end, right?
So maybe. It's probably more difficult on a turn like this, but it's possible.
This turn, yeah. Something like put a 9. That's small. They're supposed to call again with Queen Jack? No.
Yeah, when we bet 2/3 on the turn, they're supposed to continue with King Jack, Ace Jack, Ace Queen. A lot of ace size.
Not a chance.
Yeah, we'll finish up there. Nice lead. Beautifully done.
Excellent.
And we'll
Okay,
move on to
so
something fresh next time.
yeah, so the link to Caldini's Discord is in the description below. You can join his Discord channel for free, and if you want a one-on-one session like this, just go ahead and DM him. And yeah, I'll be streaming later